Mark Carney last night pleaded with Canadians to accept his vision for the future. We streamed it live on our site if you want to see it there. But Poilievre is now speaking to reporters. We've got a clip here after his meeting with Mark Carney prior to the Prime Minister's address to Canadians last night. So this is Carney meeting with Poilievre saying, please, please, please pass the budget. And can you tell by the little smirky smirk on Poilievre's face that probably didn't go the way Mark Carney thought it should have?
Did you hear anything to change your mind?
Well, we had a good conversation. My message, of course, to the Prime Minister is that people can't afford to pay anymore, that they're tapped out, their grocery bills, their rent is too high after 10 years of excess spending. So I shared my view that we need the government to bring down its inflationary deficits and taxes. I was grateful for the chance to sit down with the Prime Minister. We had a good conversation. He didn't make any commitments. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with.
Did you hear anything?
I don't know about you, Sheila, but I am so tired of conversations. I am incredibly ready to see decisive action, some real changes. And, you know, like it brings me back to the border czar that was anointed back in, what was it, May? And he was like, we're going to have all these conversations. And I'm so incredibly tired of hearing that we're having conversations. But that smirk on Poilievre seems to me like perhaps an election is brewing, because I don't know, you would be that chipper leaving a conversation.
Well, Poilievre is in a very safe Alberta riding. I saw, by the way, the strength of Bruce Fanjoy, Carleton's choice instead of Poilievre at the Environment Committee this morning. Good choice, guys. Great choice. But I think the Liberals are spooked because people don't buy what they're selling anymore. Speaking of conversations, isn't that all we're having on these trade talks? Everybody's striking a trade deal with the Americans all over the place. And we get our leaders saying we just agree to continue talking. It's like, so like, that's a very complicated way of saying nothing. Like nothing is happening. And as I said, the Liberals losing Newfoundland and Labrador, I think scares them. I think the fact that the Yukon Party is polling very high right now in the Yukon scares the Liberals, because they've had a Liberal coalition government with the NDP up there for quite some time. I think that's going to implode on both the NDP and the Liberals there. The gun grab is affecting rural areas. I think the Liberals are in a very scary place because they're elbows up, elbows down, elbows up again strategy. I think the people who fell for it, like the people who fell for the COVID scare, some of them are coming to their senses.
Yeah, the chicken dance got pretty old pretty quickly over the summer, I think, and not seeing any of that tangible, any sort of tangible action from Carney throughout the summer, and instead taking that time to jet set and vacation, really proved to Canadians where the priorities lie after they were sold this idea that he would somehow be any change from the Justin Trudeau decade of destruction, I think is how the Conservatives usually put it, which I entirely agree with. But in the address that Carney gave to a group of Ottawa University students last night, which is just so fitting. Weird, but also fitting. He had to, of course, bring up the attempt at justification for more censorship laws, what I see as stating that Canada's public square is fragmented by online echo chambers. Listen to this.
Our public square is fragmented by online echo chambers, where truth and fiction can be hard to tell apart, and where contrasting ideas tend to polarize, not persuade. Now, in the context of all this, as Canadians, we have relearned some key lessons over the course of the past year. First, we have to take care of ourselves because we can't rely on one foreign partner. We have to take care of each other because we are stronger together. And we've learned that now is not the time to be cautious because fortune favors the bold.
Gross.
Fortune favors the bold. So apparently that's not Canada, and it hasn't been Canada for arguably the last decade, because we are descending into absolute fiscal turmoil thanks to endless spending, runaway spending by the Liberals, who are, in my view, this was like a soft launch for the federal budget, which, by the way, is 3 months overdue and earmarked to be increasing the deficit by billions of dollars.
Right.
Not at all reining any of it in as promised by Mark Carney, who was supposed to be this like economic powerhouse.
Yeah. Inflation's through the roof. Like, we've got an economic powerhouse who doesn't understand that government spending drives inflation. Like, this is what they want us to believe. When he's talking about, we're in our own little information silos. Why do you think that is? Why does he think we're scared to talk to each other? First of all, we can't talk to each other. We can't engage in the free and liberal exchange of ideas on Facebook thanks to their shakedown of Meta, because Meta wouldn't pay the shakedown. We saw how the Liberal government leaned on Facebook and other social media platforms to take down posts that were critical of COVID, posts that were ultimately true at the end of the day. And so for when he says it's getting difficult to figure out what's fact and what's fiction, well, I'm sure as hell not going to rely on the government for it, because when they started being the arbiters of truth, all it took was a little bit of time for them to be proven wrong. And they never apologized. They never fixed it. They actually have hardly even acknowledged that they did that. It should be a nationwide scandal, but it's not. And of course, we're polarized into our little places where we don't talk to each other. Why? Because even engaging in discussion with the other side can result in the kind of hate crimes charge under, a future legislation passed by the government that means that we're imprisoned for pre-crimes with ankle monitors for things we haven't even committed yet, because we have the potential to hurt somebody else's feelings. So people are scared to talk to each other, especially when people who try to elevate the discussion and take the discussion to the Liberals end up under house arrest, like Tamara Leach and Chris Barber.
Well, and I would argue that our state broadcaster, the CBC, is the largest echo chamber of them all. What kind of diverse perspectives or opinions is anybody garnering from the likes of the CBC? I mean, again, why would they bite the hand that feeds? Government-funded media is in itself a breeding ground of government echo chamber. And we're not getting any sort of diverse perspective despite all of these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within the state broadcaster and other segments of our institutions. So what do they expect to happen then? They just want to be the CBC and the government and the CBC's government propaganda arm to be the arbitrators of all things that are truth and holy. Well, no, that's not going to be the way that we'll let it play out if we have any say in the matter.
Yes. Let's move ahead. We've got another clip. Mark Carney addresses the nation, reaffirms that the relationship with the United States and Canada is over. Again. What could possibly go wrong? It was on again, then off again. This feels like a junior high boyfriend-girlfriend thing that we're doing here instead of dealing with the single largest trading and military partnership the history of the world has ever seen.
Canada's trade increased by over 400% during that period, and our economy doubled in size. But this process, this decades-long process of an ever closer economic relationship with the United States, is now over.
Oh my gosh.
And as a consequence, many of our former strengths as a
we're buffering.
I was hoping that wasn't my internet connection.
No, it's not. It's in the office. Surprising. But yeah, I mean, this nonsense that our trade partnership is over while we're in the middle of a trade negotiation, that seems not the brightest thing. Like, who's advising him on that? Maybe people who are scared of a coming election And so they've dusted off the whole like elbows up nonsense. I think that's what's happening here. They really can't campaign on their record. What are they going to campaign on? The economy? So all they have is, oh, Orange Man bad. And so let's take that mask out of the closet again and put it on. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
And I mean, geographically speaking, we cannot ignore that this trade partnership makes the most sense. I mean, these are our closest neighbors and historic allies. Why would you perpetuate this rhetoric that partnership is once again over? And I mean, he was very stern in the way that he said that, but then he goes over to the White House and acts like, you know, the younger brother looking up to their proverbial and pun intended big brother. And then he comes in front of Canadian university students and spews this kind of stuff. Absolutely.
He's so two-faced. No wonder nobody wants to negotiate with him. Who could negotiate with somebody so duplicitous and publicly duplicitous like this? Speaking of publicly duplicitous, there's Doug Ford. How's that for a segue? Mark Carney praising Doug Ford. Man,
of course.
Doug Ford and them liberals, find someone who loves you like Doug Ford loves the liberals and the liberals love him back. Mark Carney praising Doug Ford, saying he deeply values his leadership and the relationship they've been building over the last 6 months. So yucky.
With their cottage, whispering sweet nothings by the fireside chats that they're having at Doug Ford's cottage, which I've heard is recently renovated.
Well, you know, there's all that Deco money, Deco labels money floating around that family. Let's watch this.
Now, which one? We're going to say something very similar, but I might as well use my remarks. It's great to be in Bowmanville with all of you. Premier Ford, thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership over these years. And let me just say a personal note. I deeply value the partnership that we have forged over the last 6 months in the interests of Ontarians and in the interests of Canadians. We are both focused on building a strong economy. We are laser focused on getting big projects, such as the one we're discussing today, we're launching today, getting those big projects built faster, and together delivering for the people of Ontario.
Stop talking about it then. Do it.
Right. What big projects? How about a pipeline? You know? How about a pipeline? Or are we just talking about battery plants here? In Ontario?
The ones that the government, and by government, I mean the taxpayers, are subsidizing heavily and are fleeing. We'll get into that, but fleeing into the United States. But yeah, this, I mean, Doug Ford has been, I think, 3 terms now? Yeah. The Liberals have been in power for the better part of a decade. Where are these big projects? Why aren't they unleashing the economy? We have vast natural resources at our immediate disposal. And yet here we are stagnating on the world stage, economically and politically speaking. And Doug Ford and Carney have both been at this for long enough to have done anything to prevent the current predicament that we're faced with.
Yeah, I mean, they've been building a relationship for 6 months, but wouldn't it be great if they were building like something that created a job, like an actual physical thing? But instead, these two are working on their relationship. And every press conference they hold, I feel like I'm reading somebody's Valentine's Day card, like some sort of voyeuristic weirdo. I feel like there's no room for me to watch their press conferences because they feel kind of like an intimate exchange between two people, like two lovers. Like I don't understand, and I feel like they're just dragging us all along with them. It weirds me out. Honestly.
Well, and that proof is right in this pudding in Doug Ford's response, also praising Carney. Let's have a listen to this one.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. It's great to be back here, and thank you, Prime Minister, for that kind introduction. As work continues, I'm pleased to announce that Ontario is investing up to $1 billion through the Building Ontario Fund to support the construction of these SMRs. And I'm absolutely thrilled that the federal government...
Oh no, what's happening with our clips today? Anyway, SMRs, and immediately I go to that what is it? The, when you're whispering in the mic and people.
ASMR.
Yeah, thank you. It's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
What's happening here. But these small modular reactors, and again, throwing away $1 billion, taxpayer dollars, into new investments, and for what?
Well, and that's the thing. We have to quit calling it investments, because that is the liberal doublespeak. Call it what it is. Subsidies and grants. When they say we're not spending, we're investing. No, you are spending my money on your pet projects. This investing stuff is like Orwellian doublespeak, and the liberals say it all the time. Like we're going to quit spending and start investing. I'm like, no, those are the same things. It's like that meme where it's like they're the same thing. Like, and Carney's really good at that. Do
we have the rest of that clip? I don't know. I think we're only halfway through. If it's loading now, maybe we should just see that one through.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Maybe we don't.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. It's great to be back. Is stepping up with its own investment of $2 billion. It shows what we can accomplish when Canadians work together across provinces and across party lines. I've always said I don't give two hoots what color of stripe people come from, as long as they work together and collaborate together. And I couldn't ask for a better champion than the person right behind me. He feels the same way. And we're going to do powerful things together and give people hope and show them the future of a strong economy. Because when Canadians work together, we can stand up to anything and anyone, including President Trump.
Yeah, until the government comes for your bank accounts.
I can't even get my eyes back from the back of my head. They've rolled so much. Like when Canadians stand together, we can do anything. And us Albertans are like, well, we'd like to build a pipeline. Thank you very much. Would you let us? No, I guess not. Quebec says no. BC says no. So that's a no. And then when they say, including President Trump, the only thing keeping this place afloat is the fact that we're selling oil to President Trump, and he helped us not get, I guess, the same level of tariffs that everybody else got. And I shouldn't say he helped us. Premier Smith negotiated that because she doesn't talk about President Trump like Doug Ford does.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Ford and arguably also Carney, they've had a year. Trump campaigned on this at this time last year. America first, bringing manufacturing back to the United States. And now we're still left with these incompetent leaders, quote unquote, scrambling, trying to figure out what their next steps are for Canada when they've had a year to figure it out. And Carney, as the one whispering into Trudeau's ear for the better part of the last few years as his economic advisor, also should have known better and been prepared. But here we are, Doug Ford and the likes of Mark Carney caught with their pants down because none of them could muster up any sort of plan while Trump literally campaigned on everything that he's currently doing. Just makes no sense to me.
Quickly Google while you throw to the Polyev fact check.
Yeah, so
I'm curious about how this Darlington nuclear reactor is related to Brookfield. Like in my mind, like somehow Brookfield is involved. So I'm just going to quickly Google while you set up the next clip.
Yeah, so this is a presser from this morning where Pierre Poilievre addressed this big announcement that happened last night. And in this particular clip, he is fact-checking some of Carney's claims.
Wanted to respond today to Mark Carney's big hyped-up speech to Canadian youth. So we brought some people here who do qualify. Come on, let's get somebody in here who's young enough to be youth. Although Pierre is the George Clooney of our caucus, so he's forever young. And we have Sandra Cabina, who's much younger than I am, and she will be sharing some of the stories of the many young people she encounters in her constituency. When we heard about this speech, we watched it with great interest because of how much misery and suffering our young people have endured over the last decade of liberal inflation, crime, and chaos. And so we were looking for Mr. Carney to reverse course on all of these policies. So what did we find out? Well, first of all, we got the normal buffet of broken promises and buzzwords. There was lots of talk about catalyzing this and catalyzing that. There was a new promise about doubling exports to non-US markets, all while he refuses to even support the one single thing that would actually export more of our resources to those markets. He's still not stating his support for an oil pipeline to the Pacific, nor has he gotten any projects underway that would achieve any of these things. So there was the normal repetition of already broken promises with a lot of fancy million-dollar words.
Yeah, there you go. And I would love to hear a little bit more from the gentleman that he pulled on to, I mean, any normal Canadian who's living in these times and, having those conversations, breaking out of this so-called echo chamber online and getting out and talking to people will see that everyone is struggling. Like people are not able to stay afloat, especially, as mentioned so many times, the youth who are facing record unemployment, not seen since, the recession eras, previous recession eras, and the elderly who are on fixed income and their groceries have tripled in the last year and a bit. And so people out there are really struggling, and it is so out of touch to claim otherwise.